Assalamu alaikum. Inshallah today we'll start with the videos for physics 61 and we will start with the turn 1 material, which is projectile motion. So before we start with the first question in the end of your tasks or questions, I will give you some notes, okay? The first note is we need to use these formulas, which is V final equal V initial plus AT, which is the acceleration times time. We have delta y, which is because we are using in the vertical direction, which is V initial t plus half AT squared. And the last one, V final squared equal V initial squared plus 2a delta y. Okay, now since we are talking about free fall and projectile motion, we need to know that acceleration, which is a, it will be always g, because we are talking about movement in the y direction, which affects the gravity, and the gravity in our case, which is 9.81 meter per second squared, and it always negative because the direction of the acceleration is always on the negative side or downside. So we can transform the equations into V final equal V initial minus gt. We have delta y equal V initial t minus half gt squared, and the last one, V final squared equal V initial squared minus 2g delta y. Okay, and since we are using negative in the equation, no need to plug in the negative again, just put 9.81. okay, this is number one, acceleration always downward. Point number two, time to go up at the highest point, time up should be always equal to time going down. Yeah, and in our case we have a ball being thrown, so here in the middle, time up, t initial for example, should equal t final. And the last point that we need to talk about, which is at highest point, at maximum height, v will always equal to 0. Okay, so if we put this into consideration and let's talk about the question, a ball is tossed vertically upward and it takes 6 seconds to reach back to the same level that it was projected from. So this means that the total time equals 6 seconds, right? Which is time up plus t down, right? So in order to tackle this question, what is the initial speed, he needs V initial in this part, we need to look for time to use it in this equation, for example. So here, for example, time up should equal 6 over 2, which is 3 seconds because it's halfway up. Now at maximum height, we said that V equals 0 at max height. So we can use the first equation, V final equal V initial minus gt. We have V final equal to 0, 0 equal V initial minus 9.81 times 3, and from here, if you want to do shift solve or just move in the the numbers to the other side, you will have about 29.4 meter per second. What is the final speed at the same level? So in a projectile motion or in a free fall, let's say, final speed should equal initial speed, but in the opposite direction. So the answer will be V should all equal to 29.4 meter per second. Okay. For question 2, you toss a small ball vertically up in the air, which is similar to the previous question. How are the velocity and acceleration vectors of the ball oriented with respect to one of each other? So if we are throwing a ball upwards, okay, V vector, which is the vector, should points up, but the acceleration, who we said it's A, which is similar to G, should always point downwards because of gravity, either in the case of going up. At maximum height, velocity, as we said before, should equal 0, but the acceleration g, it's downwards and it has a value all the time, which is 9.81, right? Okay, this is at max height. Okay, Coming down, velocity vector points downwards because the ball is moving down, and the acceleration, which is g, should always again point down. This is coming down. Okay, so this is how do we solve this part. So we can say that velocity changes along with the direction of the ball movement, but acceleration will always point downwards. Okay, at maximum, so we said it. Okay, let's go to question 3. Question 3 says that throwing a ball straight up into the air provides an example of free fall motion. Okay, at the instant the ball reaches its maximum height, which is v equals 0, which of the following is true? Which the ball acceleration vector points down and the vector points up at maximum height? No, because velocity equals 0. The ball's acceleration is 0. This one is wrong. Acceleration always has a value, which is 9.81. The ball's acceleration vector points up and velocity vector points up. Again, no, because the velocity vector equals 0. The last one, the ball's acceleration points up and the velocity equals 0. This is the correct part. Okay, let's move on to the second question. A boy throws a stone horizontally from a cliff. معطيني speed 12. It takes stone 4 seconds to reach the bottom. Okay, so he gave me the v initial. We don't know the height, but he gave me the time. Okay, so in these questions we need to check for vertical motion and for horizontal motion independently. Okay, so vertical motion, we will use one formula, which is v final equal v initial t, sorry, not v final, sorry, which is delta y equal v initial t minus half gt squared. But in our case, v initial in the vertical motion should be 0 because it's thrown horizontally, right? So delta y should always equal minus half gt squared. Okay, for the horizontal motion, or for the horizontal movement, let's say, we will have to calculate the distance because it's thrown horizontally, which is v times t, the time. Okay, because it's in the distance. The time will be the same. Time is the same for both, and we will ignore a resistance unless he told us. Okay, so let's find. He needs to find h, which is delta y. So since y it is in the vertical motion, or yani moving vertically, or we need to calculate it vertically, we need to use this formula, which is minus half gt squared. Delta y, which is similar to h, which is the height. Okay, this is delta y equal minus half times 9.81 times, which is the time given us, it's 4 seconds, which is 4 squared. Plugging it to the calculator, it will give you 78.4 meter. Again, you can ignore the negative sign because it's giving you hypothetically that the object is going or moving in the negative y direction. So this is for A. Okay, for B, how far from the base of the cliff does the stone lands? So he needs to calculate the distance that the stone reach, right, at this point, which is x, for example. Now we need to use the distance, which is equal v times t. He gave us the initial speed in the horizontal direction, which is 12 multiplied by 4 should be equal to 48 meters. Okay, that's it for these type of questions. Let's move on to question number 5. Given here, again, we need to look some into information. Again, it's horizontally launched, so we need to check for vertical and horizontal motion. For vertical, as we said, we will consider, for vertical, we should consider delta y equal minus half gt squared, and you can remove the negative to be equal to half gt squared because it's related to the direction. For the horizontal, as we discussed, we need to calculate the distance, which is equal v times t. Okay, the gravity acts only vertically, and that's why we are using this information, لأنه G always points into the negative y downwards, so we don't have acceleration in the x direction. Okay, so let's read it. An object launched horizontally from a height, he gave me h, which is 20 meter, اللي هي similar to delta y, above the ground with the speed which is in the x or horizontal direction, which is 15 meter. And we know, of course, gravity equal to 9.81. So at which time it does it hit the ground? We have delta y equal half gt squared, delta y, which is the height 20, equal half times 9.81 times t squared, which we need to shift solve on the calculator. I guess it will be 2.02 seconds. The horizontal distance traveled, since we get the time, distance equal v times t. He already gave us v, which is 15 multiplied by 2.02. It will be 30.3 meter. Let's go to the last question. In this part, an arrow is shot horizontally. Again, it's the same. We need to do vertical and horizontal. معطينا السبيد. He gave us the speed in the x direction, 20 meter per second. معطينا delta y. He needs the time using the same formula. Delta y equal half gt squared. Delta y, which is 60, equal half multiplied by 9.81 multiplied by t squared. Do shift solve or do it mathematically. The answer will be 3.5 seconds. And that's it for this section.